You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Hello and welcome to the Talking Texas Rangers show. As always, I'm your host, Leiter. Today's episode, we dive into all the latest headlines coming out of the offseason so far. And with that, let's dive into today's first topic, shall we? We recently learned that Mike Maddux is leaving for the Angels. It's hard to imagine any Ranger fans are happy after hearing the news that pitching coach Mike Maddux is leaving the team to become the division rival Los Angeles Angels pitching coach under new manager Kurt Suzuki. Maddux has played a vital role in the Rangers' pitching success, leading the staff that made the World Series in 2010 and 2011 during his first tenure. He rejoined the team in 2023 as part of Bruce Bochy's staff, helping Texas win its first World Series in franchise history. Not to mention the Rangers' pitching staff was arguably the best in all of baseball in 2025, as the team led the league with a 3.47 ERA with Maddux mentoring the pitching staff. The rotation should be fine without Maddux, but the questionable bullpen could struggle without one of the best pitching coaches in Major League Baseball. Unfortunately for Ranger fans, this isn't the first time a highly regarded person in the organization left for the Angels. Rangers fans dealing with Josh Hamilton flashbacks after pitching coach Mike Maddux leaves for Los Angeles Angels. Maddux's departure for the Angels serves as a reminder of when outfielder Josh Hamilton did the same thing. Hamilton was one of the best players in all of baseball with the Rangers, making 5 straight American League All-Star teams, winning the 2010 AL MVP award, and helping lead the Rangers to back-to-back pennants. Then, after a spectacular 2012 season, Hamilton signed a 5-year, $125 million contract with the Angels. Ranger fans were not shy in expressing their displeasure with Hamilton's decision. While many Texas fans were upset that Hamilton left for Los Angeles, it ultimately worked out in the Rangers' favor. Hamilton struggled significantly upon becoming an Angel, slashing .250, .307, .432. With 21 home runs and 79 RBIs in 151 games during his first season with LA. Didn't get any better from there for Hamilton as he hit .263, .331, .414 with 115 OPS plus with 10 home runs in just 89 games while dealing with injuries during his second season as an Angel. Hamilton also dealt with personal issues that likely contributed to his regression and was later traded back to Texas with the Angels covering most of the remaining contract. Hamilton ended up playing in just 50 games for the Rangers in 2015, his last MLB season. Let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments section below. And with that, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to take a look at the Rule 5 eligibles, running down the Rangers minor leaguers who are Rule 5 eligible, with the Dodgers having finished off the Blue Jays in an appropriately epic Game 7 to conclude one of the all-time great World Series. The offseason is officially here and underway, and in just 15 days, we have the deadline for teams to add players to the 40-man roster to protect them from the 2025 Rule 5 draft. The Rangers had 47 players on their 40-man roster at the end of the 2025 season, with 12 of them becoming free agents. The 40-man roster now stands at 35, though that includes several guys who are likely to be waived or non-tendered. Billy McKinney, for example, is still on the 40-man roster. There are 4 or 5 players who seems likely to be dropped from the 40-man roster, and Cody Bradford will land on the 60-day injured list once spring training opens. So there's no real concern at this point about a 40-man roster squeeze. Between trades and in-season call-ups, the Rangers would not appear likely to have many moves to make come the November 18th deadline to protect players. It would be surprising if the only player the Rangers add is right-handed pitcher David Develu. Apologies for butchering his name. The 22-year-old is currently number 8 on the Baseball America prospect list for the Rangers and split the 2025 season between High A Hub City and Double A Frisco, putting up a .244 ERA in 107 innings over 23 games between the two leagues. David is an interesting guy, originally signing with the Mets in 2021, then being released soon thereafter. He signed with the Rangers in 2022 and after a couple of unremarkable seasons, broke out in 2024 when he spent most of the year in low A. He's a strike thrower who commands a 4-pitch mix but doesn't have loud stuff. He touches 96 miles an hour with his fastball, and it's funny to think that's kind of ho-hum nowadays. Cam Cauley would seem to be, aside from David, the most likely Ranger prospect to be protected. The team's third-round pick in 2021 took a step forward in 2025, slashing 253, 325, 448, and 490 plate appearances with 28 steals and 35 attempts. After being an infielder, primarily a shortstop prior to this year, Cauley got 43 games in center field in 2025, with Texas having added Cody Freeman, an infielder with a similar profile to Cam, to the 40-man roster this past summer. I'm not sure if they'll want to carry both Freeman and Cauley. Cauley probably won't be selected and stick on a roster all year as a Rule 5 pick, but the defensive versatility and speed makes him the type of player a team could keep as a late-inning bench option all season. Aside from David and Cauley, there are a handful of players who would seem to be in the possibilities to be protected or to be selected if they aren't protected, though most likely will be neither. Ortiz is probably the most noteworthy of that group. The left-handed hitting first baseman, right fielder, was an undrafted free agent of the Rangers in 2021 out of Florida Southwestern State College. A disappointing 2022 campaign at low A was followed by a terrific 2023 season that saw him slash 294, 371, 619 between low A and high A. 2024 saw him put up mediocre numbers at Frisco, and though he was Rule 5 eligible last year, he was not considered a candidate to be protected or selected. After a mediocre first half, Ortiz kicked it into gear in the second half and earned a promotion to AAA Round Rock for the final 2 months of the season. Ortiz put up a 283, 388, 565 slash line and 165 plate appearances for Round Rock, with 9 homers, 21 walks, and 36 strikes. The argument for adding Ortiz is that he has legitimate power, performed at AAA last year, and given that he'll be 24 to start the 2026 season, there's little concern about him burning through options prematurely, since the soonest he'd be out of options would be his age 27 season. The argument against that is that his track record of hitting at the upper levels is limited, and he is a bat-only guy, which means it's harder for a team to stash him on the bench all season. The 2 names whose omission from the 40-man roster last offseason caused the most consternation among Ranger fans were Josh Stephen and Brian Magdaleno. Neither pitcher had a good 2025 season, and neither appears likely to be a serious consideration to be added this offseason. Ismael Agreda and Aiden Curry are A-ball starting pitchers with good stuff, and in the case of Agreda, good results. Each is an interesting arm, but neither is impressive enough to warrant protecting at this stage. Robbie Alstrom and William Bormy are relievers who a selecting team could possibly take a flyer on. Alstrom is a lefty who has spent time at AAA each of the past 2 seasons, but hasn't missed enough bats or thrown enough strikes. The fact that the Rangers didn't call him up in September when they were needing warm bodies suggests to me he won't be protected. Bormy is a right-hander who spent a little time in AA, but most of 2025 at high A. He throws hard and misses bats, but also walks a lot of guys. Each is the type of bullpen arm a selecting team could want to take a look at in spring training for the Rule 5 price. Let me know if there's anybody else we missed on the Rule 5 eligible list. And with that, let's move on to our next topic. So we're going to go over some important dates for the Texas Ranger fans that should know in the upcoming offseason. As the Dodgers claimed the first repeat championship since the turn of the century last week, the 2025-26 MLB offseason officially kicked off on Monday with more than 140 players across Major League Baseball electing free agency. 12 of those were members of the 81-81 Rangers team that was fielded in 2025. With a long offseason ahead with a new manager, a search for vital members of the coaching staff, and a revamped offense, these are some important dates for Ranger fans to know. Obviously, November 2nd, the Rangers which is players elect free agency, the Rangers officially lead Major League Baseball with 12 players who elected to enter free agency this winter. The group included Rowdy Tellez, Sean Armstrong, Phil Maton, Merrill Kelly, and Tyler Mahle. Essentially, this leaves Texas with a back half of their starting rotation to fill, as well as a complete rebuild of their bullpen for the second straight offseason. Among the 12 names that potential fit for returners would be Armstrong, Maton, and Mahle. Then, today, November 6th, I should say, option decisions and qualifying offers. By the end of this week, teams will need to act on their option decisions, as well as issuing qualifying offers to eligible players. For the Rangers, this is a pretty quick bunch with no player eligible to be offered the $22.025 million qualifying offer. As far as options, the only player on that list is Jock Peterson with an $18 million player option that he will likely opt into after a tough first year with Texas. And then on November 18th, we have protection from the Rule 5 draft. Teams can protect players from the Rule 5 draft by adding them to the 40-man roster. The Rangers have 4 prospects that are eligible for the Rule 5 draft if the Rangers decide not to protect them. These names include Cameron Cawley, David DeVillo, Ortiz, and Aaron Zavala. And then on November 21st, the non-tender deadline. The Rangers have 9 arbitration-eligible players this winter. Headlining that list is Adolis Garcia, Jake Berger, Jonah Heim, Josh Smith, Josh Young, Jacob Webb, Sam Haggerty, Ezekiel Duran, and Josh Spores. According to MLB.com's Kennedy Landry, the Rangers are expected to tender contracts to all 9 players. Then, December 7th to the 10th, we have, of course, apologies for the sun getting in my face, the winter meetings. This is often the most eventful part of the offseason. Top front office executives meet each year to discuss trades with other teams and to speak with prospective free agents. The Rule 5 draft takes place on the final day of the winter meetings. And then, on January 8th, you have the deadline to exchange arbitration figures. Teams will tender contracts to arbitration-eligible players in November. Oftentimes, they will agree to terms on a salary for the upcoming year by that deadline. The official deadline to exchange numbers is January 8th. If the team and player cannot agree on terms, then it is a sign they are likely headed to arbitration. And then, finally, January 15th is the opening of the international signing period. The 2026 international signing period opens in the middle of January. The Rangers are not rolling into the offseason with a massive slot pool, sitting at, $6.7 million, which is the middle of the pack from the other 29 organizations. The biggest prize on the market is likely to be 25-year-old Japanese infielder Munetake Murakami. I know I butchered that. He's expected to be posted by the Yakult Swallows of the Central League in Nippon Professional Baseball. It's never too early for bettors and pundits to start forecasting who will try to prevent a Los Angeles Dodgers three-peat and win the 2026 World Series. Ranger fans might be surprised at where their squad has been slotted to be the last team standing next November. They might be inclined to believe it is way too low, considering that the team will be returning 4 of 5 starting pitchers who combine to the league in ERA this season. According to ESPN Bet, the Rangers are listed at 25-1 to win it all next year. That puts them squarely in the middle of the pack of the 30 MLB teams, with the Dodgers odds-on favorite to make it 3 in a row at plus 375, followed by the Yankees at plus 700. The Rangers are one of 3 teams at 25-1, the other 2 being the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians. The longest odds are shared by the Chicago White Sox and the Rockies at 500-1. Bettors don't appear to put much value on the Rangers returning their top starting pitchers in Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, Tyler Mahle, and Jack Leiter. The only spot that appears up for grabs heading into the season is the 5th and final one. This is essentially the same group that posted a league-leading ERA in 2025 and was easily the best in the regular season. There is going to be a bullpen shakeup for sure, considering so much of the 25 bullpen headed for free agency this winter, but it's hard to believe that Chris Young and the club can't find a group that is more consistent moving forward. The Rangers were a miserable hitting team last season, and they were particularly bad with runners in scoring position. One key name heading into 2026 will be DH and first baseman Jock Peterson. He will certainly be better than he was in 25, or he will not be in Arlington for long, as he is on the last year of a 2-year deal. It's also reasonable to expect significant improvements. From promising young players like Alejandro Osuna and Cody Freeman, who will be entering the spring looking to solidify their spot on the 25-man roster. The Rangers should be among the top 10 favorites to win it all in 2026. And now, on to our next topic. We're going to take a look at Gerson Garabito. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Excuse me. With the 2025 Texas Rangers season having come to an end, we shall be, over the course of the offseason, taking a look at players who appeared in a major league game for the Texas Rangers in 2025. Today we are looking at Gerson Garabito. Yes, Garabito. We have to ease into the reviews after all. Can't be coming in hot with Josh Young or Marcus Semien or Adolis Garcia talk. Can't be cannonballing in right away with Robert Garcia or Jock Peterson or Corey Seager takes, or even milky takes that are designed to dull the spiciness of the takes that you, our listener, may have about such players. We're going to dip a toe in the water, feel the temperature, get acclimated. It is a long offseason, and we shall have plenty of time for in-depth analysis and spirited arguments and yelling in references to pie holes. What is a Gerson Garabito really? It sounds like a type of bean, something that you'd encounter in a stall at the farmer's market. A stall manned by a woman with tats and dreads and a distinct scent tucked a little ways away from the heavily trafficked areas, the more mainstream produce options. Our intrepid vendor will probably have a septum piercing, will likely be wearing a tie-dye t-shirt and baggy cargo pants and clunky boots. We'll be sporting a carpenter with a collection of keys. At least one article of clothing will be made of hemp, and a colorful wool cap will rest atop her head. And she'll be accompanied by a guy of indeterminate age, could be 30 or 60, no telling, with a long straight beard that comes down to his nipples. He won't speak the entire time, but will be eyeballing you suspiciously, making it clear that if you try to palm one of the scented candles on the stand, he'll catch you. You want to ask if they are in a throuple, or if their domestic arrangement has evolved to be let's not go there. But there's never a good opening to make that inquiry. Among their selection of organic, herbicide-free, earth-friendly produce, you will find some of the finest selection of Garabito beans outside of the Pacific Northwest. The specific variety they sell is the Gerson Garabito, and the woman will show them off to you, point out the specific coloration, that is how you can tell it is a Gerson Garabito, instead of the more pedestrian Garabito varieties. Explain how the loam at their farm results in especially flavored Gerson Garabitos, that you're in luck because the most of the current batch was scooped up by their friend Windhoek, who is featuring them in the current menu of his pop-up kitchens, but they set some aside so that those who frequent the farmer's market and have a love of some legumes would have the opportunity to experience them. They are evangelical about the Gerson variety of Garabito, wanting to share the joy with those who haven't been fortunate enough to encounter it yet. So, Gerson Garabito, the pitcher, is a good story, though that story was told in 2024. Out of affiliated baseball for the 2022-23 seasons, he signed a minor league deal with Texas in the 2023-24 offseason and ended up making his major league debut, functioning as a functional swingman who could be shuffled up and down between the majors and minors. Garabito wasn't particularly good, but you didn't have to be particularly good to be a functional up and down swingman. Garabito clung to a 40-man roster spot all winter, which was mildly surprising and made the opening day roster in 2025. The highlight of his season was a 2-inning outing in the third game of the season when he picked up a hold while allowing no runs against the Boston Red Sox in a 4-3 Rangers win. In his next 2 outs, and allowed 8 runs in 2.2 innings and then 4 runs in 3.1 innings before being banished to AAA, where he pitched poorly, putting up an 8.53 ERA in 10 starts, covering 31.2 innings. The Rangers released him in June so that he could pitch for Samsung in the KBO. Garabito pitched well for Samsung, and one would assume that at the age of 30 and a little chance of getting back to the major leagues for any extended stretch in the foreseeable future, Garabito will try to return to Korea for 2026 and try to carve out a spot there for the next few years. Who knows, maybe he can end up like another former Rangers pitcher who spent a number of years pitching in Korea and land a spot on a reality show. And that is our episode for today. Give me your thoughts on all the topics we've covered in the comment section below. As always, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TTRangers. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.